Okay, I have the live button, which Scott, I didn't get a chance to tell you, but last week with Frank, I talked for like 4 minutes before I realized I never even hit the red button that says, hey, it's time to go live.
There you go.
But welcome, good evening, parents, any students who might be listening with your parent or guardian tonight. Welcome to, I think we're at number 4. Caffeine Chat on Sunday evenings. And my special guest tonight is Scott Safera, who is the director for the Office of Student Accounts. And I would say, based on all of the questions I've gotten over the last couple of weeks, that you are in high demand, very timely.
Thank you.
There were also the most RSVPs that we had, and I only gave them a day to RSVP. So
Wow.
there will be oodles of questions, tons of information coming tonight. For weeks, it's been questions about, okay, well, how do we opt out of the student health insurance? And obviously tons of questions about billing and all that kind of stuff, and the ID cards and parking. And I said, well, I have one awesome colleague on campus who's going to be able to answer almost all these. So let's get them on here. So Scott, thank you so much for joining me tonight. How long have you been at TCNJ?
I'm in my 24th year.
Okay. See, I don't know if any of the parents out there, if you're sensing a trend here, right? So when Yvonne was on a couple weeks ago, she actually, I didn't know this, Frank hired her. Mm-hmm. So Yvonne's been here for 20-something years. Frank obviously has been here for 20-something years. You have as well. Now, the two that are joining me next week are relatively new. One's been here for about 20 minutes and the other's been here for about 5 years. But I really think it's just so, it really just speaks to, there's just so many faculty and staff who choose to stay. And I think it's just because we genuinely like working together. So you and me, I feel like we can get into it sometimes for fun. I'm a little extra, I feel. Sometimes when I call Scott, when we're in the office and, it's like the delay and I know he's there, but he won't pick up. And then he's like probably sitting at his desk like, all right, I got to prepare to talk to Lindsay.
It must be the shared birthday, right?
It's the shared birthday. I know. But yeah, so, but it was funny when I was preparing for tonight, I thought, you know what, I think he's been here for a really long time too. And for a fun fact, so he runs the Office of Student Accounts here at TCNJ, but he is also the advisor to our TCNJ Lions EMS, which is our student organization on campus that's filled of all of our students that are EMTs that want to continue to work, and they respond to calls on campus. So that's a little fun fact, I guess, about you tonight. Anything else for your intro? I feel like I probably should have had you introduce yourself, but.
No, as you said, my name is Scott Safera, Director of Student Accounts. Been at the college in my 24th year, about 17 of them working in student accounts. My prior 7 years was working in our purchasing department, doing all the procurement for the college. And I'm happy to be here tonight, and hopefully I don't disappoint and can share some good information with all of you here with a wealth of knowledge that you can take back and digest over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, awesome. So Scott has a PowerPoint that I'm going to run while he's probably going to take about 20 or 25 minutes and go through the slides. It's going to have a lot of information. That PowerPoint will be available in a few places tomorrow. One will be on the Office of Student Accounts website, but the other will be on the new Parent Resources for Parents tab on my website. And I'll send that out with the link for tonight's recording for anybody who may have missed it. But don't panic. Don't feel like you have to write everything down, because you will have access to the slides afterwards. And again, as always, if you're logged into YouTube tonight and you have questions while Scott's presenting, I will be collecting them and answering to some, and maybe saving some for the end of the presentation to talk to him afterwards a bit. So keep putting those in there, and I'll kind of peek as we go. So Scott, you ready to go?
I hope so.
All right, let's see if I get this up and running without any major issues here. So you should be all
good.
set.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And again, welcome and congratulations to all of you on becoming TCNJ parents. And we look forward to working with not just you, but also your students in the coming weeks and the next 4 years of education. So as Lindsay mentioned, I'm the director of the Office of Student Accounts, and we really look to make your transition to college life a little bit easier. We oversee and run a lot of different operations, which I'll talk about tonight, and hopefully answer some of your questions. So if you will, Lindsay. So what do? We serve not just the students, the faculty, and the staff of the college we bill the student tuition fees, room and board, and student health insurance. So we do all the billing to the students on behalf of the college. In conjunction with that, we also manage the health insurance process in terms of enrolling students or assisting them in waiving out of health insurance, which I'll talk about shortly. We process student refunds. So if a student is owed money from the college because of an excess payment or financial aid, we work with our finance office to create those refunds. And we also manage the college ID card program, which I'll get into shortly as well. On the college ID card itself, there is a wallet, if you will, called the Get It card. And we manage and establish those for the students who are interested. And the other big piece that we manage is the parking services for the college in terms of issuing and managing the parking decal process. So this is probably a slide that many of you are interested in seeing. Back in the end of June, early July, our Board of Trustees met and they finalized the cost of tuition and fees for next academic year. If you have not heard, the college did not raise tuition from last year. It remained the same, and they actually had a small reduction in fees because of the current situation that we're all working through. So if you're in state and you have a permanent in-state residency, you can see that your tuition charge for both fall and spring will be just over $6,600 each semester. The fees are roughly $1,500 to $1,600 depending upon the semester. The only caveat as to why spring is slightly higher is the college will be charging a student center fee in spring. I believe that's because of the hopes that we can be back on campus and utilizing that resource much more readily. And then room and board is roughly $7,100. And I say that because the room charge is the same. However, the meal plan can cause that number to fluctuate depending upon what meal plan the student is utilizing if they're living on campus. So you have a semester total, of roughly $15,283 for a yearly total of just over $30,000. If you're out of state, you'll see that the fees and room and board do not change by semester. The only thing that is different is the tuition, which goes up to about $12,600 for each semester, making a yearly total of just over $42,000. Again, this information will be readily available up on our website tomorrow. And actually, if you're interested and you went out to our website tonight, there are tuition and fee tables for all classifications of students based upon residency that you can certainly review at your leisure. So, Lindsay? So I wanted to share a tuition and fee disclaimer that the college has put up, and this is also available on our website. Based upon the fall flex that the college has titled for the upcoming semester, they wanted to share with students that regardless of the learning environment, whether it be remote, in person, or a combination of both, that the charge for tuition and fees will not change. It'll be the same regardless of where you're taking classes or how they're being taken. And they want students and parents to obviously understand that up front as we enter into that semester. But again, this information is available for more detail on our website for you to review. So when do we bill? The college bills in two separate semesters. We bill in the fall and we bill for the spring. The fall bill is coming out scheduled for August 5th. So that would be a week from this coming Wednesday with a due date of August 25th. If you need some extension on that, obviously we'll certainly work with you. We recognize that with people going through a challenging time, we are more than happy to try and be as accommodating as possible and work with you to take care of that. And what we do, and this calendar doesn't show per se, is each month after this, we will bill you for any new charges that the student may incur. Let's say that they pick up a parking pass or they incur a charge for a certain class. You would see that charge coming across within the month that they acquired that. One thing to note about this, parents and students, if you're with us tonight, is that the college does not send paper bills out to a permanent resident of the student. Everything is done electronically. So we send via email to the student's TCNJ email address. And parents, I will talk about, and I think you heard from Mr. Cooper last week, about authorized user access, where you can be included in these communications as well. I know this might be small, but I want to just kind of show you how you can view your bill. if you log into the Student Center page on pause, under the finance section, there is a view bill hyperlink. When you click on that, it will take you out to the most recent PDF bill. I want to note that the PDF bill is a snapshot in time, meaning that at the time that we ran the billing process, whatever charges were on the student's account are captured. So just like a credit card statement, it's very static, so things can fluctuate from day to day. But at that point in time, those are the charges that the student has acquired. At the very top of the page on the right-hand side, you'll see highlighted in yellow. That's the amount that is due to the college based upon the tuition and fee charges. And then below that gives you a breakdown of each individual charge. If there's any past due balance, what that might be. If there's any financial aid that's anticipating, what that amount might be. And if you do the subtraction of those numbers, you'd come up with what that total amount is listed above in that yellow highlight. So again. So how can you pay for the bill? If you're looking to pay in full, the college does accept credit card or electronic check. If you're paying by credit card, that would be done through the pause account. The college does accept all 4 major credit cards. But please note that we have partnered with a third-party provider based upon some banking regulations, and there is a 2.75% convenience fee that's charged by them. They keep that convenience fee for processing your payment, but please don't be surprised if you do pay by credit card, you would see that added into the total that you're going to pay. If you pay by electronic check, which is debiting from a checking or savings account and transferring that money over to the college on behalf of your student, there is no charge for that. That is a free process. You would need to obviously have your routing and checking account number available to complete this process. Unfortunately, payments that are made off of home equity line of credits or other types of banking entity are not accepted. It's just strictly a checking or savings account. If you wish to pay in person, and normally when I give this presentation in front of a group of several hundred people at a time, I always get a chuckle that we do accept cash. And parents, please understand that we love having cash brought to the office, but we're a little concerned when students walk across campus carrying $15,000 or $16,000 in cash. Not because we don't trust them, we just don't want them to lose it for some crazy reason, and then they're out of that money. So cash is certainly accepted in our office in Green Hall 119. If you wish to pay by paper check, that certainly is fine too. The check would be made payable to the College of New Jersey, and you may send that to our lockbox address, which you'll see to the far right of this screen. Please make sure that if you're going to pay by paper check, that the student's name and 6-digit pause ID number is listed on the bottom of the check, because we always do get students who have common first and last names like a John Smith, and they don't indicate an ID number. So I'm holding a check for $15,000 for a John Smith, and I'm not sure which one of the 15 of them at the college should deserve to receive that payment. So please share with us that ID number so we can make sure it gets posted correctly. Money orders can also be utilized. One thing that I didn't list in here, but I certainly will talk about for a quick minute, is if you're utilizing a college 529 plan, they certainly are accepted. What you would want to do is contact that provider once you know the amount that you're going to pay, and have them direct the check directly to us, but have them include the student's ID number and name on the check as well, so we make sure it gets applied to your student correctly. We recognize that many of our incoming students have received private scholarships, and we're happy to hear that, and congratulations in advance for all the hard work that you've done to receive these private scholarships. But we ask, because we have a process and a requirement to report them to the federal government for processing, we ask you please do not send them to our Philadelphia lockbox address, that you mail them directly to our office address in Ewing at the PO Box 7718, so it can be received, it can be recorded, and it can be accounted for correctly. So how do you pay your bill? If you want to pay online, as we mentioned, with electronic check or credit card, And I recognize these are kind of small, but when you look at them tomorrow, once they're posted, it'll be much more clear for you. Again, logging into the student's pause account, under the finance tab, there's a hyperlink to make a payment. That'll take you to our third-party provider called CashNet, where you will plug in the student demographic information, the amount that you want to pay, and then hit submit. Please only hit submit once. It'll take a few moments for that to be processed. But if you hit it more than once, you could process a double payment. And we would not want you to do that. So please hit once, please be patient. It'll process, and then a email receipt will be available for you as confirmation your payment has been received. So our tuition payment plan, this has been a topic of discussion for a number of weeks at the college. We recognize ever since the pandemic has hit that many families are going through challenging times, financially speaking. So we really want to promote our tuition payment plan, which we changed to being 6 semester payments, that are available for fall and spring, July 25th to December 25th for the fall, and January 25th to June 25th for spring. I recognize, as I just mentioned, the initial payment for fall, it has passed, which is July 25th. And that is obviously something that we can work with you on. So what you would do if you're interested in the payment plan, there is a $25 enrollment fee through our provider CashNet. You would contact them, or you could contact our representative at the college who we have dedicated to working on payment plans. And they could assist you in enrolling into a plan for the fall semester. It would be for 5 equal payments between August and December. We're not going to ask you to make that back payment for July. And then any remaining balance you have will certainly be due at the end of the plan, kind of added on as at the tail of it without penalty. So again, normally when we do this process, we ask you to pay the prior payments you missed, but we recognize that things are changing as we speak. So we're going to obviously not have to do that. And we're going to just add any remaining balance to the end of the payment plan cycle. And then the same thing goes for the spring process as well. Yes, Lizzie.
Hey, Scott,
Sure.
I have a quick question. I'm going to jump in because one of the parents did. So is there like a certain, so obviously July 25, you just addressed, came and went. For the August 25, to have that be a payment to start, is there a like deadline that they have to have that signed up and squared away so that it will go? Or is it like an on, that they do it on,
Great
the 24th?
question. Thank you, Lindsay. The 24th really takes about a day for us to receive their enrollment and for us to post it onto the student's account. So I would say if it's done by the 23rd, we can post it on the 24th, and we're doing them daily. So that way we don't, lapse any time here. And then the payment would be due on the 25th. Now, I will share with you that if you pay it on the 26th or 27th, no penalty, no harm. That's totally fine to do. Please recognize we're doing this to really support our families for the fact that this is not a loan. This is not something where you have to have, good credit or a cosigner to enroll into. It's just a way for us to offer an extension for making payments so that instead of paying $16,000 up front by August 25th, you can take that $16,000 and divide it over 5 months. You dictate the amount that you want the plan for. We don't tell you what to set it up for. So let's give an example. You have a bill for, using round numbers, $20,000. And you got financial aid for $10,000, so you owe the college an additional $10,000. You could say, I'll pay $3,000 out of pocket, and then I want to spread the other $7,000 over 5 months. So you have the right to kind of dictate how you want that to be done. So, and again, my colleague Rayanne, who works with me in my office, is more than happy to talk through this with you, kind of give you some suggestions if you have any concerns. So please. Her information is on our website, and might be even later on in this PowerPoint. She's more than happy to work with you on this. So I believe for many of you who were talking with Mr. Cooper from Records and Registration last week, authorized user access is something that came up. Back in 1974, the Buckley Amendment was put into place that created FERPA regulations that protect the student's personal information, financial information from anyone else at the institution. They are the enrolled student. They are the ones that we're obligated to talk to. We recognize that most of you are supporting your student through this process. They appreciate it. We appreciate it. But we obviously have to comply with federal regulations while we do so. So authorized user access, what is it? It is the student giving permission to up to 3 people to speak on their behalf to the college. So it might be mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, cousin, friend, whoever it is that is helping them with their financial situation at the college. The student would need to go onto their PAWS account. They would need to open up the authorized user hyperlink, and they would need to sign up each individual person who they want access for individually. A username gets created and a PIN number gets created. That information is something that the authorized user would need to know, because when you contact the college for any sort of business, the first thing we will ask you for is that information along with the student's 6-digit PAWS ID number, so that way we can authenticate you as someone who can speak on their behalf. The student has the right to choose what they share with an authorized user, whether it's financial information, whether it be grades, whether it be financial aid information. So please have that conversation with your student to make sure they give you access to all of these arenas. So when you contact us, we can certainly share those details with you. And there's just a couple of screenshots for you. When you go into PAWS, lower left of the main page, authorized user link there, you click on that, and then on the right-hand side, it shows you the second page you're going to see, where the user ID name in the top red box is created and the PIN number is created. And if you look right below that lower red box on the right, you'll see the 4 different categories as to which your student can provide you access to, whether it be financial aid, whether it be outstanding documents, whether it be the student bill or academic records. I will share with you that I heard from Mr. Cooper a long time ago about this when he and I were talking, that students have no problem signing up parents to pay the bill. But when it comes to academic records and grades, that tends to be a bit more of a stumbling block sometimes. So we certainly hope that you can talk with your student and have them give you the access that's needed. Student health insurance, as Lindsay was mentioning to me prior to coming on tonight, has been a hot topic with lots and lots of questions.
I have like 8 of them who've already asked about it, and I've been in here the chat window going, sit tight, it's coming, it's coming. So take a drink of water so
I can make it through.
And almost all 400 of you out there, zone in, because now we're getting to the health insurance part.
So we'll take this step by step. So the college is requiring all full-time students to have health insurance coverage, whether it be through the college or through their own personal provider. With that being said, the college offers a student health insurance plan that we call SHIP that costs $1,977 for a full 12 months of coverage. One of the first questions I get when I say that is, so what does your plan cover and how good is it? And my answer to you is, I can't compare it to what your personal plan is because I don't know, but I would certainly encourage you to look and compare it to your plan and see if it's something that you're interested in. So that being said, the health insurance coverage is through Aetna Student Health. The plan is very good from what I've been reading and understand. We've been working with them now for a fair number of years. The college does give all students a right to either waive out of the coverage or enroll into the coverage. How does that happen? This week coming up, your student will receive an email from my office, probably 2 of them, one kind of introducing health insurance, and then one later on in the week that will talk about how to physically waive or enroll the coverage. It'll give you step-by-step instructions, how to go out to the Aetna website, how to log in. There's some questions that have to be answered, like, are you full-time? Do you recognize your waiving health insurance coverage? Do you have sufficient coverage otherwise? The student will need to provide information from the health insurance card that they have on hand. Policy number, group number, name of the provider, etc. Once they hit submit, all of that will get reviewed and confirmed as being validated. And then the college is made aware that we can remove that charge from the student's account. The plan begins August 1st and goes through July 31st of next year. It does not mean you have to waive it by August 1st. If you waive it on August 15th, that's fine. The deadline to waive it is the first week in September. So you have a good 5 or 6 weeks to take care of this process. And we'll be sending you multiple emails reminding students to please take action. Because if you do not take action and the deadline passes in September, the student automatically will be enrolled into the plan and be responsible for paying that premium of $19.77. So again, emails coming out this week with lots of information for you. You can go out and read about the plan. Unfortunately, I'm not a resident expert on the plan coverage, but I certainly can, talk about the waiving and enrolling process as needed. But again, no fear, you'll have a chance. If you don't do it by August 5th, you will see that charge on your bill of $1,977. Please don't worry. There's still time to waive it. If you make payment, you can just deduct that amount as long as you're going to definitely waive the coverage. Was that pretty good, Lindsay?
Yes, I feel like the anxiety level just shot up through the roof based on a couple of them because it's like spurring more questions. So for all of my followers or my viewers who are hanging on tonight, I just pulled up a very helpful link. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. It's on the student accounts page. If you go to studentaccounts.tcnj.edu, there's a resources and forms tab, and under tutorials, there is a pause tutorials link, and I just put the direct link in there, and it has everything mostly right that Scott's talking about tonight. So all of those screenshots of things to do and pause not to, there are a tutorial that will walk you through every single one of them. So hopefully that quells a bit of the anxiety. I had a quick question I didn't know the answer to. Somebody asked about when they do the payment plan and they set that up, are they using the student pause ID, like username and password and pause ID to get in, or how are they getting into that system to be able to view and set up the payment plan access?
Great question. Since this is everyone's first time enrolling into the payment plan, if you're going to do it electronically on the website, it'll say create a new account. You'll click on the create new account link, and then you'll indicate the student's name, the school that they're with, et cetera. So, they choose their username and password. So it's a separate one for them. It's not, they don't need any credential information to set that up. Okay. Correct. My apologies. Thank you for that.
No, that's super helpful. And everybody wants Rayanne's info. So I put in the chat too. At the end, we'll see what the contact information is for you have on that last slide. And then we'll see.
Here's what I can tell you. A great email address to reach her. It's payment plan, all one word, at tcnj.edu. That is the email address dedicated just to payment plans. And she monitors that for daily, hourly, I guess I should say, during the work week. So she certainly will be getting back to you as soon as possible.
Awesome. And then I've been telling the parents for a couple weeks and thanking them because as I told you when we met last week, everybody's experiencing the furloughs and whatnot, but does your office starting next week start to ease up a little bit on that, or are there still going to be some people in and out next week because of that as well?
Starting tomorrow, we're all back.
Awesome.
Full time. Furloughs are done for us, except for, maybe a handful of folks here and there who might be doing some other things, but furloughs should be wrapped up.
Okay, great. Yeah. So if you've been reaching out, and I keep mentioning this every week just to remind people that we're trying to get through as many of them as we can. But if you are still waiting on an answer, if you've emailed an office like Scott's, anybody within the student accounts realm, financial aid in particular right now, admissions, I think I might be up to date, but that's probably smoke and mirrors. I'm sure there's some of you who haven't heard back yet. But thanks. I wanted to clarify that, but thank you again to the families just for your continued patience with all that. So, but no, I think we're good. I'll keep going through the comments and I'll get you to the next slide.
Yep. We're getting close to finishing up. So that's a good thing for everyone. Tuition insurance plan. We recognize that the cost of education, whether it be for the semester or the academic year, is rather expensive no matter where you go to school. So the college has partnered with a company called GradGuard, which is an optional plan that the college offers with GradGuard to ensure students out-of-pocket payments for a given semester or year. So if a student needs to leave the institution, take a leave of absence because of a medical situation that might occur, we have a refund cycle that's in place that's approved by our Board of Trustees for each semester. So if you look at the table in front of you, you'll see 4 separate rows. The second column that says TCNJ refund is one we'll focus on for a second. So for the first week of school from August 25th to September 2nd, if the student takes a leave of absence or withdraws, for that first week, the college will give you back 100% of your out-of-pocket payment, no questions asked. Anything after the second, that percentage decreases. So the 3rd to the 15th becomes 75% of out-of-pocket payment. The 16th to the 29th is 50%, and anything after the 29th is 0. So anything after that September 2nd date, if the student wanted to protect and insure their out-of-pocket payment, they could set up a insurance plan for tuition through GradGuard, so that way, no matter when they take a leave of absence for a given semester, they'd be confident to receive 100% of their out-of-pocket payment back. Again, this is optional. It's something that the student and the family drive. We do not dictate the amount that you want to set it up for. Later on next month, early August, you'll be receiving something via U.S. mail directly from GradGuard with the college's logo on the front with more information about this plan, how it works, how to enroll. The piece to just keep in mind is it needs to be done by the first day of the fall semester, which is August 25th. Parking is another hot topic that we're having conversations about at the college as we currently speak. But to share with incoming students, if you are a first-year resident, obviously living on campus, you're not eligible to have a car. That's primarily based upon space reasons. We don't have a whole lot of space to have everyone else parking as well as first-year residents. However, we do recognize exceptions need to be made. So students who are living on campus as a first-year resident can purchase 2 weekly passes per semester at $20 a week to bring a car to campus. So let's say it's during move out, you want to have a car on campus, or you have to go for maybe physical therapy or a family situation. You can certainly contact our office and we'll be happy to work with you to do something. If you are a commuter or undergraduate transfer student coming in, you have the opportunity to have a car on campus because you have to get to and from classes. In early part of August, you'll be getting an email from our office with information on how to purchase your parking decal through our online portal called CARS, ironically. And the cost for that decal is $105 for the year. Parents, we recognize that you're going to be coming to and from campus for various reasons. We certainly want to make sure that as you do, you comply with all of our parking regulations and you obtain a visitor's pass accordingly from our information booth that's located in front of Trenton Hall, or from our campus police station that's located in Administrative Service Building. That way you certainly do not get ticketed while you're visiting or talking with your student.
And Scott, just to jump in, so the first year students who are commuting and any of the upper class students that are either commuting or they're living on campus, when do they, I think it's typically the first week in August, but obviously we're in a wild time. So when will they receive that email from, it's a student accounts email that will go out to students that says that the CARS portal is open to apply? That's typically the first week in August, but do you know when that's going to be this year? I'm putting you on the spot.
You are putting on the spot, and I have to say, unfortunately, I don't have an exact date for that, Lindsay.
That's okay.
With the things that we're all experiencing and the furloughs that we're coming back from, we're working feverishly to finalize some parking arrangements.
Okay.
So I hope to have some better information this week, but I certainly don't want to mislead anyone.
No, I appreciate that. And I think it was just the bigger, I asked because I know that I'm going to get a bunch of questions for, well, when is that opening? So I'll share with the parents that it's traditionally it's early August, right? Yeah. So whether that's the first week or the second week this year, we don't know, but you have not missed that. Your student has not missed that email yet. Yeah. But that will be coming directly from Scott's office when that information has been finalized and they're able to do that. I think you might have mentioned this, Scott, that the first 2 weeks of the fall semester and the spring semester as well, parking ticketing is suspended on campus. So even if your student, and that's because again, your student's going to have to come pick up their parking decal or whatever that scenario is going to look like. So don't have your students stress out if they're commuting and they've got to come for the first week of class for, they have a course on their schedule that's flex and they are going to be meeting in person one of the days or whatnot. They're going to be able to park on campus those first 2 weeks without having to worry about the ticketing. So take that off their plate, and then just keep an eye out for more information from Scott's office to come.
I didn't mention that, but you did, so thank you.
I got you.
So as I mentioned, an email will be coming out sometime in hopefully early part of August, giving the students direction on how to register a car. If they go out to our parking services homepage, when they get that email, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see where the red box is. There's a CARS login. They will click on that, take them to a subsequent page where they will then put in information for their parking decal, confirm the information we have on file is correct, or change it if need be. In your case, probably adding something new because you've not been here previously. Hitting submit, you'll be getting an email from us that indicates we received your registration information and that we will be letting you know when it is available for pickup or distribution accordingly. Again, things we're working on in terms of how to do that based upon the current environment that we're working through.
Yeah, and Scott, just one follow-up question to that. Can you buy the parking pass? Is that for annual for the year, or can you do a semester one as well? Like, only on each semester?
Traditionally, a student purchases it for the year with, for fall and spring combined. But if they're only here for one semester, they certainly can buy a semester only decal, but the one that they're buying is for a full academic year.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
My pleasure. So I mentioned before that one of the components that we oversee at the college is a student ID card and something called the Get It Card program. The student ID is something that many of your students have already submitted a photo to our office so we can produce their ID card. So when they arrive on campus, that's ready for them. What does that ID card do for them? Obviously, it's identification to validate who they are. They can certainly use their ID card for library services, admittance to different campus events. It'll also house their meal plan on there. So obviously when they go to eat, they'll need to have their ID card in hand to gain access to their meal plan. And entrances to some of the buildings are done through the college ID card program as well. Something that we typically hear a lot about, and I want to make sure we highlight, is that if a student loses it or it gets stolen for some reason, it's extremely important that they report it lost or stolen via the card service portal or to campus police as soon as possible, so that way the card can be deactivated and not used by someone else. The ID card itself, as I mentioned, it's multifaceted, and it has the meal plan on it. It has access points loaded onto it. It also has a wallet called the Get It card, if you will. And the Get It card is a program, it's a debit-based system where money can be loaded into that wallet electronically, and a student can then use that card throughout campus for different purchases, whether it be at the bookstore, whether it be used for printing, whether it be for utilizing during off hours for meal plans, whether it be for purchasing something in our C-store or in Traditions, one of our on-campus dining locations. Parents, you have the ability to provide them with a purchasing power by providing money on this debit-based system. Some families do not like to give the student a debit card or a credit card based upon some concerns they might have, and we fully understand that. That's why this card was implemented years ago, where you parents from home can have access to that debit-based system. You can check the balance, you can reload it as need be, you can set up for automatic deposits based upon when you believe they're going to be necessary, and also get warnings when the student has taken a card down to a low balance, so you know to reload it. So again, this is something that's optional for both the student and or parent to talk about, but we want to give people as much option as we can to utilize some sort of funding on campus.
All right, and here's the big announcement with the ID cards. We're very behind. And by we, I mean the students submitting a photo are very behind. So Scott and I had this conversation last week. I touched base with him just to talk about tonight to prepare and make sure that, we were covering all the topics that you all had questions about. And then I was like, what are those numbers looking like? Ooh, not good, not good. So the deadline for submitting the photo closed on the 17th. We're going to reopen that up. I think it's open now, Scott, or maybe tomorrow. I need to email the students. The students are going to get an email from me, like a post-orientation email that has a whole bunch of information for them on that. But the most important thing, and I would really appreciate all of your help on this, is that if they did not submit, just a simple ask, hey, did you submit your ID card photo? And if the answer is like, what are you talking about, mom or dad? Or what? No? Oh my gosh, please make them sit down right then and there and do it, because we don't know. We're still trying to figure out how you pick it up, right? This is something that you typically would have picked up at orientation if you were in person, but we didn't have an in-person orientation. So Scott and I are trying to flesh out what's the best way to get these ID cards distributed to the students. And the problem becomes we're obviously doing a elongated kind of 6-day move-in process, which I covered last week at the end of the parent chat last week. But we got to get the cards printed. And I know that you're not behind, but because of the furloughs, there's a bunch that are probably still in pending. So if your student submitted it and hasn't heard back yet, that student shouldn't panic. I would imagine that this week, now that Scott's office is more operating on a normal business as usual schedule, that they're going to move through all the ones that are in pending. But if your student didn't submit it, they have until Friday, and please have them do so. Just going to make our lives a lot easier for getting that ID card to them. And obviously, as Scott just walked through, they use that for a lot of different things on campus. And it's not just the residential students, the commuter students, just to even swipe to get into some of the lots, you need to use that ID card. So it's going to be really important that your student does that. So I will send the student a reminder email tomorrow. The link, if it's not open now, it'll be open sometime tomorrow, but more to come on that, but they should be able to go in this week. Where do they do that? Online orientation, module 3, there's a beautiful page in it that walks them through the link to do so, and also a great FAQ on what will be acceptable and what will not be. I will share with you that if they're wearing sunglasses, that's a no-no. It will get denied. If they're taking selfies, also will be denied. It's really just, actually, Scott, your backdrop is quite nice. I think it's just like a very plain, a beige or a white backdrop looking straight ahead. You can't do a profile look. So there's an FAQ that's really helpful that's going to walk them through like the things that need to be happening in that photo for it to be approved. But we have hundreds of students that didn't do that, and that's just going to cause a huge bottleneck for us. So anything you can do with that on help would be greatly appreciated.
And Lindsay, I think it's safe to say that when you send your email tomorrow, we'll send it after we know the link is open. That way,
we'll chat in the morning
to do their thing. So, and if you think about the backdrop, as Lindsay was mentioning, if you think about the type of backdrop you have for a driver's license, it's the same type of backdrop you're going to have, kind of a plain white, no sunglasses, no hat, that kind of look is what we need to have.
Yeah, and if it got denied, if it was denied, don't resubmit the same photo. I had a student who emailed me like 2 weeks ago. She's like, I submitted it 4 times, and I wrote back, and I was like, I mean, I haven't seen it. I'm sorry, but that's probably, you need to give us a new one. Something about that photo isn't working. But yeah, just wanted to add that in as well.
Thank you.
All right, you're up.
All right. So the Get a Card, as I spoke about, is something that obviously students and parents alike have the ability to manage remotely. Off of the college's homepage, you'll see a little icon for Get a Card. You can click onto that. It'll take you to a subsequent page where you can log in and you can deposit funds onto the student's Get a Card. Many times people ask, well, how do I open it? And you open a Get a Card by just initiating that initial deposit onto the card. You'll have to obviously log in. The student will authenticate who they are, give you access to depositing funds, and then you can do so accordingly as a parent from home. So again, we can certainly help you with that if you have any questions or problems. So that wraps us up in terms of information I can share tonight. We're located in Green Hall, room 119. We look to be returning back to campus on August, is it 17th, Lindsay? Is that our return date?
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, sometime in mid-August, we're returning back to campus. We'll be there Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Certainly looking forward to having your students on campus with us. And We appreciate your patience. We appreciate your time to join us. And certainly we'll do all we can to make that transition to the College of New Jersey as smooth and seamless as possible when it comes to what we offer.
Yeah, this is the worst part because you're not in a room or in Kendall Hall on the main stage where everybody can clap, but I'm going to clap because that was a ton of information to go through in a very short amount of time. So thank you so much. I put this in the chat, but this presentation will be on the student accounts website. It will be on the parent resources page on my website within the next day or two for you to access because there were a lot of numbers. There was a lot of information there. Scott, the only other question I think, and they were coming in hot, so I apologize if I missed one, but related to the tuition insurance, that covers just tuition. That doesn't cover insurance for room and board or for dining.
No, it covers tuition. It covers tuition fees on campus, room and board.
Great. Okay. So
if you're living off campus and you're doing something on your own, it doesn't cover that. But anything that's campus based, it would certainly cover that.
Okay.
And again, there'll be more clarification coming out in August directly from GradGuard. It'll probably be a letter signed by me, sent by them, detailing more information for you.
Okay. Okay, great. I think that's it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more. So best way to get a hold of your office is just that stuaccts@tcnj.edu. That's your general email inbox. I'm assuming that's the best way to get a hold, and that somebody's going to then farm it out if it's an ID question, if it's a parking question, and then obviously the payment plan at tcnj.edu would be something that would go directly to Rayanne to help with those types of questions.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly, if you have a parking question, we have a parking@tcnj.edu email address that you can use. We mentioned the payment plan at TCNJ, but anything else can go right to that Stu accounts email address. And we're monitoring that on a daily basis, and certainly we'll do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. This time of year tends to get a little crazy and chaotic, but we certainly will do our best to answer you timely with all the information you need.
Awesome. All right, let me just scroll through. Okay, I think you're off the hook. So you, yeah, I think you're pretty okay. And then again, I answered this in the questions, but if the status is pending for your photo that's submitted, that means that we still need to approve it. So you'll get an email once that's approved. You'll get an email either way. It's either going to say that the photo was approved or that the photo has been rejected and that you need to submit another one. Okay. Do Get It funds expire? That was another question that came up.
Good question. They do not. If you don't use them through the course of the academic year, they'll carry to the next year. And they will stay on the card until you either leave the institution or graduate.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Okay. So you can hang on if you want to hear me talk for another 13 minutes, or by all means, if you don't, that's no problem either. But thank you again so much for taking the time this evening. And I'm sure that your office is going to get a whole bunch of emails as a result, but they're great. And we'll get as many questions here as we can get answered. So thank you. Really appreciate
it. Thank you. Best of luck. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, just me. All right, so I have about 12, 13 minutes to cover some stuff. And yeah, so for those of you who noticed, this is this coffee cup is the size of my head. It's still decaf tea that's in there tonight. But I don't know. I had a feeling like it was just a lot was going to be happening. I really needed to channel and get a little bit of extra decaf tea because there's that little bit of caffeine in there. To get going here. It also, ironically, I strategically picked it as well because I'm in my last week of grad classes for the summer. So I have finals and exams, and I'm hopping on in a group call actually in about 15 minutes. So I'll wrap up with you afterwards. So yeah, just burning the candle on both ends this week. So big laugh for everybody who noticed my cup. I appreciate that. All right. So I hope that was helpful. I know that it was a lot. It was probably very overwhelming. I think the key takeaway is that more information really on almost all of those areas is going to be coming. And you're just going to want to make sure that you're just communicating with your students so that they don't miss anything. I will take this time to also remind everybody that the official communication method of the College of New Jersey is their TCNJ email address. So right now, offices like like student transitions, records and registration, they have been kind of emailing both because we're trying to get them to morph over and get used to checking that TCNJ email address. But really from here on out, you have got to make sure that your student is checking that TCNJ email because they're going to miss stuff, and a lot more stuff is now not going to be going to both the personal and the TCNJ account from there. Okay, so that covers those pieces. All right. Wow, the ginormous elephant in the room that like 1,800 of you have asked. And to be fair, I don't blame you for asking it. This question about if we shut down refunds for room and board and dining and those pieces. Obviously, tuition will not, because that's going to continue whether we're operating in person or virtually. I don't know. So here's what I would do. I have not been privy to any of that information yet, which I know is going to probably upset some of you. So I'm genuinely very sorry. I don't have an answer to that. I put in there in the group chat about, oh gosh, half an hour ago now, the link for the housing for the request for the termination. So I'm going to resend that to you. I would make sure that you and your student are reading that carefully, because if there's anything pertaining to refunds on there, my assumption would be that it's going to be on that page. So I would read through, make sure that you're reviewing that. I know that some of you have mentioned that there is not going to be a refund. I don't know. There was a refund in the spring when we had to go remote just right around spring break, but I do not know what that's going to be for the fall semester if we end up going remotely. So make sure to review that information. I will also put it on my notes. I'm going to go back this week now that orientation is over, and just I'm going to ask around. I'll ask my supervisor, we'll ask the VP for my area and get up to cabinet and to see what the deal is with that. I understand that that's obviously an incredibly important question. So I'll see what I can dig up. But I did want to send you that language, because at least for right now, that is what is the most up to date with regards to refunds for the fall semester. So again, I'm sorry I don't have that. I'll work to see if we can make some move this week. Be nice to the messenger, I have nothing to do with any of those policies. So I'm just gonna say that too. All right, a couple questions also pertaining to housing that came up with regards to the spring semester, and if your student is decided to remote or commute or take their classes remotely at home for the fall semester. So the spring semester housing will not be guaranteed. There will be an application process that opens in the fall for the students who are currently not living on campus who want to apply to live on the spring semester. If we do have an opportunity to, let's say things go really well here and we can increase capacity for students living on campus in the spring semester, that would be a great scenario. Then great. The hope is that we can, start to have some more students on campus and relax on some of these restrictions and social distancing things. But it's not guaranteed, because if, let's say, it doesn't go very well the next couple of months and we're looking at a spring semester where we're not able to increase capacity, then we're not going to be able to have the seats available. There might be a few who decide to not live on campus for the spring semester that we might be able to do. But we wouldn't be able to house everybody who might have that demand. So not guaranteed, but they are establishing a process for it that if you want to apply, and, fingers crossed, like maybe we'll get some good that comes out of this, and the spring semester looks a little bit more promising on there. So hopefully that answers your questions about spring housing. I covered that. Again, one or two quick questions were about kind of the students. And as I mentioned last week, and just to reiterate for some of you who maybe weren't on the call last week or the week before. So essentially what's happening right now with the academic departments across campus is that they're inputting into PAWS, which is our online record system, what the professors and what they're choosing to do. Are they choosing to only teach remotely, or are they choosing to teach in what's called our flex model, to where they would have some component of the course be in person and then another part be remote? So they're in the process of doing that right now. And just to kind of go back and remind everybody, so Governor Murphy mandated that the faculty and our professors have the choice on which avenue they want to deliver the course for the fall. That being said, your student also 100% has the choice for how they would like to receive the information and participate in their class. If your student feels more comfortable taking all of their classes remote, Even if a faculty member is teaching the course in a flex model, your student will still be able to complete that course remotely. They just will not come to campus and physically show up to class, all right? If your student does want to participate in an in-campus or an in-person component, if the professor has designated they are teaching in that format, they're more than welcome to do that as well. All right, so I just want to be really clear about that. The students, so while the faculty are working on that, the academic departments are entering that information. They have until, I believe, August 5. That was like a magic day. So by a week and a half from now, all that information will be in. They are planning on sending out a survey to the students, collecting their preference for what they want to do for the fall semester. I don't know if that's any type of like configuring. I don't think there's anything going on like that, but I think just to kind of get a sense of where the students are, they're going to be filling out a survey. So your student could look for that. Again, it's probably going to go to the TCNJ email, but we're trying to collect some information there. How they're aggregating that together, don't know, but they're going to be asking for it. So just have your student be on the lookout for that. So this is still going to flush out. Some of you were mentioning that all of your students' schedules are in there and they know, right? So they already know all of what each of their professors is going to be doing. And then there's several of you who probably are still waiting on that information, and that will be coming and trickling in the next week and a half. So I just wanted to touch base on the student survey piece. Orientation's over. So I also thank you to the 2 or 3 parents who emailed me yesterday and said, are you having the caffeine chat tomorrow night? Because I think, last week there were so many Zoom links and meeting IDs and passwords, and I was living in fear that I did a copy and paste error, and then all of a sudden I had a department that couldn't get into their session. Knock on wood. I have a really great team and everything worked really smoothly. So I think I was so relieved that orientation was over and I didn't have to worry about it that I had completely forgot. I drafted your whole email on Thursday and then never hit send. So thank you to the parents who reached out. And thank you all for your patience in responding really quickly to the turnaround time with the RSVP for today. But virtual orientation is over, and I hope that your student got a lot out of it, so I hope that they were able to connect again. I'm sure there's some of you out there whose students still have questions about their schedule. We're getting a lot of students that are emailing and in the group meets with my student staff about wanting to change schedules with courses again based on, well, I heard so-and-so is teaching flex and so-and-so is teaching remote and I want to try to go there. I said this last week to everybody, they just have to be really, really careful because they're, unlike we're not a big state, we're a state school, but we're not a big state school. So there's not all these extra seats that are left, right? So what we don't want to do is have a student who says, thinks there's a seat available. So they drop a prerequisite, a class that, they really need for their first semester in order for them to get moving on their major here, and then go to click yes for that other class. And then that seat's taken. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, what do I do? Because right now it's an open period. Anybody can be doing it. The upper class students could be swapping sections and classes if they want to. And if your student's going to want to switch around to try to get the format they want, trust and believe, there are going to be plenty others that are in that boat. So I just caution you. And if your student does try to do that and runs into a big issue, have them reach out to the academic department person that they've been working with all summer. For that. So that's just a little bit about what's happening on the academic side of the house. So we hope that they had a good orientation. They got to meet some other students in their major. They got to hear me, and well, not really me, I just moderated it, but a whole bunch of my students talk about all the signature experiences and things of that nature. So hopefully they found that was very helpful too. Oh, you all are so sweet. Oh, thank you. I really genuinely really appreciate that. And I feel terrible that I don't have all your answers, and we'll just continue to give you as much as I can. But I really appreciate all the well wishes. And I really appreciate you all logging on. I think that's just really helpful. And I hope that you're finding them helpful. And it seems like that's the case. Okay, so I'll finish with a few things. Next week, we got excited. We have 2 next week, right? So that's the bonus. So next Sunday, which is August 2nd, I have 2 special guests on. So Shannon Conklin and Avani Rana. So we recently merged our Career Center and our Office of Leadership into one. So it's the Office of Career and Leadership Development. And Shannon kind of spearheads the Career Center side of things, and Avani spearheads the leadership side of things. And they're going to come on and talk to you about a few things. And I think that when I was thinking about who to invite for these chats, one of the things the parents loved attending for the in-person orientation is a Career Center presentation that talks about, well, at the time, employment on campus, student employment, I'll talk about that in a minute, but really outcomes. The hope is that you've chosen TC&J in part, probably because we have really great outcomes. We have students that are getting into their graduate schools, students that are getting into medical school, and like great graduate schools, medical schools. We have students who are coming out and they're actually gaining employment and they've got good salaries and they're going right in and working, right? So that doesn't all just happen your senior year. So one of the sessions that orientation usually provides that's really helpful is just to get an overview of all the resources that the Career Center offers. So Shannon's going to talk a little bit about that. She's going to talk about why your student wants to connect first semester or first year. So my first year students, you may be thinking, okay, I got 4 years, I got some time. You need to get in that first year. My transfer students, you need to get in that first semester. You do not want to show up, right, at the start of senior year going, oh, well, I need an internship, or I got to figure out what the deal is with my resume. Now, the good news is that a lot of the academic departments build this into the online first semester seminar that they have for their students, and it's kind of woven into some of those academic courses. But I just thought it would be very helpful to hear the Career Center piece. And now that leadership has merged, the employers, and this is not just TC&J, this is nationally, with the exception of some majors, sure, if you're going to be a nurse, if you're going to be a doctor, there's technical training that's going to be involved in that we want to make sure that you have. But employers nowadays are significantly valuing more soft skills. They want to hire people who have good excellent communication skills. They want to hire people who value diversity, equity, and inclusion and bringing diverse perspectives and thought into the workplace. They want to hire people who've had global experiences, students that have had internships, obviously, and those outside of the classroom experiences, but students and employees that are good critical thinkers and problem solvers and the ability to adapt and be flexible on your feet. All those soft skills are what they want, because for most professions, they can teach you how to do the job and they can teach you about the culture of the company. I mean, I'm a great example. Fun fact, I earned my undergraduate degree in meteorology. So I'm a weather girl. BS, it's actually hanging up right there on the wall. I hung some things last week. So I'm not doing that. I'm not on the weather, not on television right now. I am sitting here talking to you, and I work in student transitions and student affairs. I had a lot of those other soft skills that somebody said, you know what, she's the right person here, and we can figure out everything else in terms of getting her up to speed with some of that technical knowledge about college, student affairs. So all that to say, that session next week, I think, is going to be very helpful. But I mentioned last week I wanted to have some bonus people. So I had a little video chat with my awesome friend, Janice Vermachek, who's the director for Student Health Services. And she has agreed to come on campus come to the Caffeine chat. Sorry. It's late. Need more tea. She's going to come on. We're going to do it Tuesday, August 4th at 7:30. So next week, you're going to get an email from me with 2 RSVP links. Sunday night will be the Career Center and Leadership Development, and Tuesday night will be Health Services. So I think that's going to be really timely. Similar to me telling you we're still waiting on some things, so is Janice. I think apparently the CDC is delayed again. They pushed back another 2 weeks on their national guidelines for colleges and universities across the country with requirements and expectations and things that they should or should not be doing. I think a good example of that is testing. Are we going to have to test every student? Well, we're waiting for the CDC on that, and she's been waiting, and it's gotten behind. And in addition, to federal stuff, there's state level stuff with our state public health office and the governor's office, and we're waiting some information on that. So her hope is that within the next week and a half here, that she's going to be able to pull together, or at least hear back, I should say, from a lot of other people and fine tune some of those plans for if your student gets sick on campus, what's the protocol, what happens if they're diagnosed with COVID, all of those questions that you've been asking me pertaining to health, which are very, very important. The hope is that if we do this next Tuesday the 4th, is that she's going to have some more information than she does right now. So I will send you a link for both of those. The other person I was going to try to get on, and I have a meeting with her this week to talk about it, is Judy Cook, who's our director for the, what is her office called? Center for Office of Instructional Design, I think is what it's called. Anyway, she is the mastermind who has been helping all of our faculty figure out what is the best way and the most engaging way to deliver content in the virtual space for these online classes for the fall semester. So I have a planning meeting with her. If for whatever reason we can't get her on for like a bonus session here, I will figure out a way to demo not only online orientation, which is a course, not really, because it's not grade or pass fail, but a course in Canvas that your student is interacting with. I will pull that up and I can demo that for you, but I also thought it could be helpful. I'll just pull up a class or two that I've taken in the spring and in the summer, which it is what it is. You'll get to see all sorts of stuff there, but I think that could be a really good opportunity for you to get a sense. And I can speak to that and answer questions because I'm a graduate student at the college, but most of my coursework is remote to begin with. We're meeting every other Saturday in the fall and in the spring semester. And obviously with the spring and with the summer, we haven't met in person. So at a minimum, we'll try to get you that, but at a maximum, maybe Judy can join us within the next few weeks or so. So we'll follow up with you on that. And I will stick around. I know I just want to be mindful of time because I know I always run a couple of minutes over here. I will go back and answer as many of these questions as I can over the next couple of minutes that I may have missed, but anything that I didn't address, we'll jump into it next week. You can continue to email me. I'll throw my email one more time in there, studenttransitions@tcnj.edu. And I think that's it. So thank you so much for joining again. Have a nice week ahead. Hopefully it does not require an enormous cup, but if it does, I'm right there with you. Thank you for joining, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Stay cool this week. I think somebody asked a question about the weather. It's going to be hot. It's been hot. I'm over it. But hopefully we're going to get a break here mid to late week with the heat and the humidity. So more to come on that as well. For those of you who may be interested in the weather. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week. All right. Take care.